bright as the rain that falls from above. So real, so right is our love. It came like the spring that breaks through the snow. I can't say what it may bring. I only know it's right to believe. Whatever gave your eyes this glow, whatever gave my heart this song, can't be wrong. It's right to believe that falls from above and fills the world with the blue of our love. As rain must fall and days must dawn, this love can't go on.
When lonely feelings chill the meadows of your mind, just think if winter comes, can spring be far behind? Beneath the deepest snows, the secret of a rose is merely that it knows you must believe in spring. Just as a tree is sure its leaves will reappear, it knows its emptiness is just a time of year. The frozen mountain dreams of April's melting streams, how crystal clear it seems you must believe in spring. You must believe in love, in trust it's on its way. And as a sleeping rose awaits the kiss of May, so in a world of snow, of things that come and go, where what you think you know you can't be certain of, you must believe in spring and love.
when you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of a storm is a golden sky and a sweet silver song of a lark. On through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never
As Democrats, what are we fighting for? For the workers, for the dreamers and asylum seekers, for the mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters, for those with disabilities, for seniors, for healthcare, for the planet, for our bodies, for equality, for love, for education, for safer schools, neighborhoods, and communities, for a secure retirement, for opportunity, for a fair wage, for veterans and Gold Star families, for the forgotten, for our values, for truth, for progress, for our democracy, for our country, for our future. We are the party of the people. We are Democrats.
Welcome to the 2020 North Carolina Asian Americans Pacific Islanders virtual statewide launch. To welcome us all, the North Carolina AAPI Caucus Chair, Dr. Gracie Galloway.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Dave. Thank you, Shelley Markham, for this wonderful musical introduction. I want to take this moment to welcome all of you for sharing of your time this evening to celebrate and to help us launch the first Asian American Pacific Islanders statewide meeting. I am so honored and so humbled to be part of this program, but I'm also extremely excited because we are here to organize, to get energized, and to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in November. Our democracy depends on it. Donald Trump's presidency is a failed presidency, just like everything that he has ever touched in his life. His government is filled with corrupt business people, and they're in the government not because they want to serve, but because they actually want to make money from the government. Donald Trump is inept. He's a habitual liar. He is a, quote, billionaire, unquote, who hides his tax returns. He is the, quote, genius, unquote, who hides his college grades. He is the commander-in-chief who never wore a uniform, who got 5 deferments for bone spurs. This is the person who fired generals smarter than him and who dodged the draft. I could go on and on and on, but we have a choice in November. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will restore the soul of our beloved America. Senator Klobuchar said recently, we're going to rebuild a blue wall around Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and North Carolina, and we're going to make Donald Trump pay for it. So relax and let's all listen to these esteemed speakers talking about important issues that affect North Carolina, Asian American, and Pacific Islanders in our state. Kayla, our wonderful MC, please, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Galloway. My name is Kayla Avis, and I will be your host for tonight's event. I was born and raised right here in North Carolina, but my grandparents immigrated from the Philippines to the United States in 1962. My grandfather, and later my father, served in the United States Navy. I'm a proud Filipino American, and I'm proud to be part of the AAPI community. This election is so important for our country's future. The presidential contest with Joe Biden will represent perhaps the starkest choice between 2 visions for our nation's future since the elections of 1860 that led our nation down the course for a civil war. President Trump has governed in his first term as the divider-in-chief, but with Joe Biden as president, he will bring back the decency and the soul of our nation. Tonight's North Carolina Asian Americans Pacific Islanders event is the first of its kind. Our goal is to inform you of the important issues affecting us and to unite us all to vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris this November.
The United States has reached a tragic milestone. 200,000 deaths due to coronavirus. What did Donald Trump have to say about it? In a rally in Ohio, he said, and I quote, "It affects virtually nobody, just elderly people with heart and other problems." As if the elderly are just nobodies? They're not nobodies. They're our parents, our grandparents, the people who raised us, who guided us, the people who opened their hearts to us, the people who sacrificed everything for us and for this nation. But of course, Trump is wrong on the facts. The virus affects everyone, young and old, law enforcement officers, teachers, firefighters, nurses who put themselves on the line for us. How many of them have lost their lives? This virus spares no one. Maybe Donald Trump sees these people as nobodies. I don't. This president is trying to erase the reality we're living today because he thinks it helps him politically. We can't let this happen. We can't become numb to the toll that's taken on us, our country and our families. It's not who we are as Americans. We've never been like this. We're bound together as a nation. Each of us feels the pain of those families who've lost so much. We can't lose that ability to feel the sorrow, the loss, the anger from so many lost lives. We can't let these numbers become basic statistics, just background noise. Nobodies? We owe that much, at least that much, to those we lost. We owe that to the loved ones that are left behind. We owe it to every American who must live with this disease still raging among us. We can and we will get control of this virus. But we need a president who will honestly face the problem and lead. This president has proven he can do neither. He can neither face the problem nor lead. I will.
Our first speaker of the night is Maria Cervagna. Maria will talk about healthcare and how Joe and Kamala plan to defeat the COVID-19 pandemic.
Hello, my name is Maria Cervagna from Cary, here in Wake County, North Carolina. I'm honored to have been selected as one of your co-state directors for the Filipino Americans for Biden and Harris. Also humbled to have received your Democratic nomination for Wake County Commissioner. If elected in November, I will be the first Filipino American to serve Wake County and possibly North Carolina. Professionally, I'm an epidemiologist and biostatistician. And pertinent to these times, I've worked in planning and crisis management during the H1N1 avian flu pandemic. What is different from then to now is that President Obama and Vice President Biden committed to financial and resource support to state and local governments. And because of that, the avian flu pandemic and subsequently the Ebola virus did not escalate in the same magnitude as the COVID-19 pandemic. As a result, there's nearly 7 million people infected, and over 201 of our family, friends, and fellow Americans have died. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be ready on day one to protect our country's health and well-being. They have a 7-point plan to beat COVID-19 and get our country back on track. The first point on that 7-point plan is that they'll fix Trump's testing and tracing fiasco and have all Americans have regular, reliable, and free testing. 2, fix the personal protective equipment problem for good. 3, provide clear, consistent, and evidence-based national guidance for how communities should navigate through this pandemic, and the resources for schools, small businesses, and families to make it through. 4, plan for an effective, reliable distribution of treatments and vaccines. 5, protect our older adults and others at high risk. 6, rebuild and expand the defenses that Trump dismantled when it came to predicting, preventing, and mitigating pandemic threats. And lastly, 7, implement a mask mandate nationally by working with governors and mayors and by asking Americans what they do best: step up in times of crisis. In terms of healthcare, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are committed to build and protect the Affordable Care Act. Every day over the past 9 years, the Affordable Care Act has been under relentless attacks. As president, Joe Biden will protect the Affordable Care Act from these continued attacks and oppose every effort to get rid of this historic law. Instead of starting from scratch and getting rid of private insurance, he has a plan to build on the Affordable Care Act by giving Americans more choice, reduce healthcare costs, and making our healthcare system less complex to navigate. For Joe Biden, this is personal. He believes every American has the right to have the peace of mind that comes with knowing that you have affordable, quality health care. He will also stand up to the abuses of the drug corporations when it comes to prescription drugs and ensure health care is a right for all and not a privilege for few. Overall, the good news is no matter how bad things have been and how devastating the effects of Trump's failure is to lead, come November, you, your family, and other Americans can show how leadership is by voting. Voting is still the best vaccine against a virus of bad government. Please, let's all work together to get out the vote and elect Joe Biden for president and Kamala Harris for vice president. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Our next speaker is Indian American Steve Rao. Steve is a councilman for Morrisville, North Carolina, and he will be speaking to you about immigration. Councilman Rao?
Good evening, everyone. This is Councilmember Steve Rao with the town of Morrisville in Wake County in North Carolina. And I want to thank everybody for being with me today to celebrate this North Carolina Asian American Pacific Islander virtual rally kickoff to elect Joe Biden, the next president of the United States, and Kamala Harris, the first Indian American and Black woman to serve in the second highest office in the land. I've been asked to say a few words about immigration, and I wanted to just take a moment and remind everyone, like my favorite musical, Alexander Hamilton. Everybody here reminds me of Alexander Hamilton. Immigrants who came to this country worked harder and smarter, and just like Alexander Hamilton, who served at the side of the $10 founding father, had never been afraid to take your shot. And I think this is really about our shot to restore American greatness and to ensure what President Biden, Vice President Biden said last week at an event with Vivek Murthy, that American greatness can be summed up in one word: possibilities. And that's what immigration is about. It's about the remarkable American journey of each and every one of us leaving something that we loved and knew, everything that we loved and knew, to come to a nation where we could do enormous things. And in North Carolina, the state first in flight, I think it's critically important to understand that we are reaching our unlimitless potential as Asian American immigrants in North Carolina. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will understand this more than anything. And they will understand that an immigration policy that reflects our core values, that reflects and demonstrates unlimitless possibility, is how we will continue to make America a great nation in an increasingly competitive global economy. Unless your ancestors were native to these shores or forcibly enslaved and brought here as part of our original sin as a nation, most Americans can trace their family history back to a choice, and that choice was to come to the United States. Generations have come here with little more than clothes on their back and the hope in their heart and desire to claim their own piece of the American dream. And it's the reason that we gather here today. So let's just take a minute and talk about what a Biden-Harris administration will do. Well, first of all, I just want to talk about North Carolina. Let's look at immigration in North Carolina. Right now, we have in North Carolina 800,000 immigrants who are currently residing in our state. They're paying $7 billion in local and state taxes and nearly $20 billion in spending power. They own more than 56,000 businesses and employ more than 150,000 people in the state. And they're bringing skills that we don't have right now that we need to fill the technology jobs where we need skill right now for jobs today, and also to create many of the new entrepreneurial jobs that we need in the future. John Chambers last week, who spoke at our Startup Summit in North Carolina virtually, said that we could create 15 million new jobs. But in order to do that, we need to make sure that we're welcoming the best and brightest talent from around the world. The next Google, the next SAS, the next Tesla, the next Elon Musk, Jerry Yang, Sergey Brin, who founded Google, the next founder of Zoom. All of these have to be done here by encouraging the best and brightest. That's what it's going to keep America strong. We have to protect our dreamers, and President Biden will do that by developing an immigration system that's rewarding skill-based immigration, but also giving dreamers status. The 35,000 North Carolina producing over 500 million to our GDP in North Carolina, and we have to protect the dreamers. And we need to address border security, but not by building a wall. We've got to build bridges with each other, and we will know that a Biden-Harris administration will do that. Electing Joe Biden and Kamala will ensure us that Congress will pass an immigration reform system that is modernized, that supports family-based immigration, preserves family unification as a core principle. No one should be afraid to seek medical attention, go to school, go to the job, or go to a place of worship in fear or raid. Families should not be separated. And I do not want to see, or none of us want to see, a baby and a daughter drown seeking our shores, or children locked away in overcrowded detention centers, and the government trying to keep them away from their families. President Trump has been using this family separation as a political tool, and we need to stop this. I could go on, but at the end of the day, I think I've made it clear that President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will ensure an immigration system that is keeping us strong economically, so we are a destination for the best and brightest in the world. Just like Alexander Graham Bell came from Scotland and created one of the greatest empires in the world, 44% of our Fortune 500, we can do that with the streamlined immigration system. It's protecting our dreamers, and that's also an immigration system that's showing that America has a big heart, and we want to encourage people to come in and make this country great. It is a remarkable journey, and Mother Liberty knows no limits. It doesn't matter where you come from, what the color of your skin is, your religion is. We want you to come to America. I'll close on a personal note. A few years ago, my father-in-law died. He was a colonel in the United States Air Force, an immigrant. He came here with his wife to serve in the Air Force. When he saw Neil Armstrong walk and step on the moon, he knew at that moment that that was the country that he wanted to come in. A country, like Vice President Biden said, that can be defined in one word: possibilities. That's what this election is about. Possibilities. Taking our moonshot. Let's hope that one day another immigrant like my father-in-law can look at this nation and say, that's where I want to come to take my shot to greatness, to take my moonshot. God bless each of you. Let's elect Vice President Biden, the next president of the United States. And I thank you all for this great kickoff. And let's turn out the vote and win this thing. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.
Thanks, Councilman Rao. Trump is building his wall, just not the one he promised. Check this out. Wow, that was tough to watch. That video was made by the Lincoln Project only a couple weeks ago. Since then, the death toll has risen to over 200,000 deaths. It's now the third leading cause of death in the United States for this year. The Asian American Pacific Islander community is composed of more than 15 ethnic groups. Since 2012, the number of eligible AAPI voters in North Carolina has grown by 55%. 6 times faster than the statewide growth. So what is Joe Biden's plan for the AAPI community? Korean American Dr. Chun will tell us. Dr. Chun?
I brought 4 important aspects of Joe Biden's agenda for AAPI community out of many. Vice President Joe Biden knows that AAPI community is a core chapter of the American story. Our country's ability to draw hardworking people from every culture and every nation has always made us stronger. Joe knows that we are in a battle for the soul of America. Our country needs moral leadership and a unifying force in the White House. He will, first, mount a decisive public health and economic response to COVID-19. Joe would ensure access to health care, and any eventual vaccine for COVID-19 will be free for all individuals, regardless of insurance or immigration status. Joe will also reserve half of all the new PPP funds for small businesses with 50 employees or less. Second, protect and build on the Affordable Care Act. Many AAPIs often face language and cultural barriers that reduce their accessibility to health care. Joe believes that every American should have access to affordable and quality health care, and he will defend health care protections for all people. Third, secure our values as a nation of immigrants. Donald Trump has waged an unrelenting assault on our values and our history as a nation of immigrants. It's wrong, and it stops when Joe is president. Joe will immediately begin working with the Congress to pass legislative immigration reform with a priority on keeping families together by providing a roadmap to citizenship for nearly 11 million undocumented immigrants, including the 1.7 million from Asia. And he will increase the number of refugees we welcome into this country by setting the annual global refugee admissions target to 125,000 and minimum 95,000. Joe will reinstate the DACA program and explore all legal options to protect their families from inhumane separation. Fourth, spark entrepreneurship and the small business growth in AAPI communities. There are nearly 2 million AAPI-owned businesses across the U.S., which drive economic growth and opportunity across the country. However, many of these businesses often struggle with issues such as access to funding and language barriers that complicate small business development for AAPI communities. Joe will increase funding for the Minority Business Development Agency budget, and he will establish a competitive grant program to provide the $5 billion in funding to states for new business startups. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chun. Our next speaker is Councilwoman and Chinese American attorney Yao Liu. Yao will be discussing why we should vote for Joe Biden.
Hello, my name is Yao Liu, and I'm Carytown Council member for District D. Last year, I was honored to be elected to be the first woman of color on the Carytown Council and the first Asian American government official elected in Wake County. As a first-generation immigrant who came to this great country almost 2 decades ago, I know firsthand the struggles of many immigrant families. Now, as a proud American citizen, I want to share with you why I plan to vote for Joe Biden. On every issue, from the COVID-19 pandemic to our struggling economy and the climate crisis knocking at our doorstep, the choice between President Trump's failed record and Vice President Biden's strong leadership on these issues cannot be more clear. President Trump's record on the pandemic has led to tens of thousands of deaths that could have been avoided from the beginning, and even as recently as this week. The president has downplayed the seriousness of the pandemic and uses inflammatory and racist rhetoric, calling it the Chinese virus and the Kung flu. The president's words have hurt many members of the Asian community, including small children. More than 2,100 anti-Asian American hate incidents related to COVID-19 were reported across the country between March and June this year. Earlier this year, a Chinese American doctor in a local hospital experienced verbal attacks from his patient and was told to go back to his own country. Our country is better than this. In contrast, Vice President Biden warned us early on that we were not ready for the pandemic, and showed us strong leadership early on when it came to wearing masks and social distancing. Biden stands firmly with our community and fights shoulder to shoulder with us against racism and xenophobia that we've seen from the current administration. As Joe Biden said, AAPI members of our community are a vital and valued part of the American story. We stand with him as he fights for us. The current economic crisis, made worse by President Trump's failures, has hit AAPI community especially hard. with many Asian American businesses shutting down. Biden believes that we must build our economy back better than it was before the COVID-19 crisis. Strengthening the middle class and making it more racially inclusive is the cornerstone of Biden's campaign. Joe Biden believes in an economy where every American, including every AAPI member, deserves a fair chance to get ahead. Joe Biden's climate agenda will also create millions of new jobs as clean energy economy becomes a priority under his administration. As the son of a middle-class family, Joe Biden has been fighting for working families for almost his entire life. As shown through his empathy and hard work, he truly cares about every American in this country and will lead us to restore the soul of this nation and bring decency and compassion to the White House. I'm proud to support and urge you to vote for Joe Biden by mail, at an early voting site, or on Election Day. Thank you.
Election 2020 has created a buzz and excitement, and the AAPI community has been involved in asking people to get out the vote. Even our young AAPIs are asking us to be involved and vote like our lives depend on it. They may not be old enough to vote yet, but they are politically active. Our future is safe in their hands.
Hi, my name is Kevin Lin. I'm 16 years old and I'm Chinese American. My parents immigrated from China more than 2 decades ago to chase their American dream. I am making this video today to ask for your help. I am too young to vote in this upcoming November election, but it's still very important to me, for my own future and for my generation's future. Please register to vote in this upcoming November election. Please vote like your life depends on it. Thank you.
I'm Abia. I'm 16 years old, and I need you to vote like your life depends on it, because it does. आपकी ज़िंदगी इस पर मुनहसर है. Thank you.
像你的生活一样要投票。
Hi, my name is Abigail and I'm 17 years old. Bumoto tulad mo, buhay nakasalalay dito.
Hi, I'm Anna and I'm 16 years old. Bao phiếu như cuộc sống phụ thuộc vào nó if you're still considering so.
Just part of the struggle. Part of the struggle.
Namaste. I'm Arya and I'm 15 years old. हमारे भविष्य को उज्जवल बनाने के लिए वोट दो.
당신의 삶이 달려 있습니다. 투표하십시오.
Perfect imperfection, like I chose, yeah, cross chose me. Say come down, like I'm still here.
Vote to save our future.
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 On the inside, I'll leave this here, been waiting a long time. Outside the door, might well get used to it. Outside the door.
Our next speaker is Filipino-American Hector Javier. Hector is one of the co-chairs of Filipino Americans for Biden-Harris. He will be talking about our faith and voting perspective.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to discuss with you some talking points that you can use in order to engage in conversations arguing that Joe Biden's vision is pro-life and faith-inspired. First of all, we can talk about how we're having this challenging conversation, this pro-choice versus pro-life challenge. First of all, there is plenty of anecdotal evidence that the pro-choice flank of the Democratic Party is an understandably problematic issue for people of faith. This is especially true for Filipinos, for example, who are mostly Catholic and Christian, but also for other communities and other faith traditions, because all major faith traditions have teachings that emphasize the basic sanctity of human life. There is therefore a misleading narrative that voting for Biden is somehow inconsistent with being a person of faith. However, we need to remember that the pro-choice versus pro-life dichotomy is arguably simplistic. The pro-life ethic is more complex, nuanced, and covers multiple interconnected social justice issues in which the current administration has been found woefully lacking, including healthcare, poverty, racism, climate, and immigration. Truly pro-life means womb-to-tomb care for all human life, especially solidarity with the marginalized. Discerning the wider call to be pro-life means to care for what we in the Catholic tradition call the entire seamless garment and not just one thread. There is a full spectrum of teachings among different faith traditions, but I'll take, for example, the traditions of the Catholic Church, the largest Christian church. Catholics are taught to be mature moral agents who must consider the Gospels and church teachings on a wide variety of issues, and then use their individual consciences to make an informed decision. Being pro-life means reverencing not just the unborn child in the womb, but also all marginalized sectors and people who are of different races or nationalities or socioeconomic classes, situations in life, gender identities, poor families without health care. The seamless garment or consistent life ethic argues that all threats to life and human dignity are interrelated and that these cannot be collapsed into just one thread or topic. Pope Francis himself has focused the Church on bringing compassion, mercy, outreach to the poor, and inclusion of the marginalized. Everything is connected. A consistent life ethic also recognizes that a just economy and a responsibly funded safety net that cares for women, workers, families, minorities, and the poor brings down abortion rates and protects life. Joe's vision for America advances the priorities of not just Catholic social teaching, but the pillars of the social justice teachings of all major faith traditions. Take, for example, the pillar of building an economy where we protect the least of these and help families and children overcome poverty and inequality through proposals like increasing the federal minimum wage, tripling funding, and investment in community college programs, making the super wealthy and corporations pay their fair share. Another pillar is respecting the dignity of work and the rights of workers through strengthening unions, checking the abuse of corporate power, standing up against wage suppression, protecting Social Security, and strengthening Medicare. Another pillar is advancing human life and dignity by ensuring affordable, quality health care as a right for all Americans. Another pillar is pursuing a humane immigration policy that keeps families together, offers a fair path to citizenship, and treats all workers fairly while securing our border and strengthening the economy. Ensuring refugees are treated with the human dignity that they deserve. Another pillar is serving as stewards of creation and the common good by protecting our planet against climate change through measures like achieving a clean energy economy, reaching net zero emissions, while creating a lot of good-paying jobs while rebuilding infrastructure along these lines. Also, we should emphasize that Joe Biden's faith and proven character are exactly what's needed in this charged political environment. Joe's devout faith background and character are needed for national leadership. He listens, is inclusive, acknowledges the moral complexity of the real world, encourages dialogue, and does not foment divisiveness. Character is on the ballot in November, and Joe's empathy and compassion, rooted in his faith, are needed in the White House. Let me leave you with the words of Pope Francis in his 2018 Apostolic Exhortation, where he says, "The defense of the innocent unborn needs to be clear, firm, and passionate. Equally sacred, however, are the lives of the poor, those already born, the destitute, the abandoned, the underprivileged, the vulnerable, and all of these marginalized groups." These are really complex moral questions that should be involved in the decision-making process of people of faith. So with these talking points, it's my hope that we can have respectful and productive conversations with other people of faith. Thank you, and peace be with you all.
Thank you, Hector. We are honored to have a message from Sheetal Sheth. She is a first-generation Gujarati Indian American. She is an actress, author, and producer. She starred opposite Albert Brooks in his film Looking for Comedy in the Muslim World. She debuted to rave reviews in ABCD and American Chai and has appeared in the films I Can't Think Straight and The World Unseen. Her first children's book, Always Anjali, debuted to critical acclaim and became a favorite among schools and parents. Sheetal?
Hello. Hello, North Carolina. Hello, North Carolina Asian American Pacific Islanders. Thank you, Kayla. Okay, why am I here? I'll cut to the chase. I am here because I'm angry. Really angry. There are a lot of things to be angry about. I'm sure we can agree on that. So I am hoping that we can harness this anger and this energy and take it to the polls. I'm also going to take a bunch of people with me to the polls. So please, I implore you to do the same. Do you know that the United States has one of the lowest voter turnout rates relative to the rest of the world? Do you ever wonder why they don't want us to vote and they're making it so difficult for us to vote? It's because we are powerful. Our voice does matter, and they know that. So let's change that. In 2016, Donald Trump won North Carolina by just 170,000 votes. In 2020, the North Carolina eligible AAPI voter number is 172,000. Think about that. You are indeed the margin of victory in November. Let's all unite, and please, let's restore the soul of America by electing Joe and Kamala. We can do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheetal. It is so important to vote for Democrats up and down the ballot this November. Vietnamese Councilman Thai Huynh will talk to us about the importance of voting blue when voting for Governor Cooper, Cal Cunningham, state legislature candidates, all the way down the November ballot. By the way, don't forget to vote for Maria Cervania for Wake County Commissioner. Councilman Huynh?
Thanks, Kayla, for that wonderful introduction. It's such an honor to be speaking to you all this evening. We know that this election is important. I don't need to tell you that. The boxes we check on the ballot this November are going to dictate more than we think, though. It's not just about who is going to be sitting in the White House. This election is life or death. For me, this election is about my mom. Her livelihood depends on down-ballot candidates whose names we don't often hear about, but should know. Offices in the North Carolina Council of State, North Carolina House and Senate, and top state courts will impact her and my family, and they will impact you and your families too. My mother, a Vietnamese refugee with no higher education, lost her job back in March of this year due to the pandemic. Our state has one of the worst unemployment benefits in the entire nation. My mom has been working and paying taxes for decades, and when she needed her state the most, she got a measly $152 a week. It wasn't until the federal aid came through that she was able to get back on her feet. Important decisions in our state are made by the down-ballot candidates. If we are to support our communities and help them recover and rebuild after this crisis, we need electeds in these roles that represent our values in their work. We are the margin of victory. When I reflect on this slogan, I can't help but think of my own election, in which I won by only 24 votes. Dr. Gracie Galloway told me afterwards that I was the first Vietnamese American elected to public office in the state of North Carolina. It only took 24 individuals to make history in our state. 24 people. Y'all, that's 0.03% of the AAPI community in Wake County alone. We can have impact up and down the ballot, and our greatest impact will be deciding the close down ballot races, flipping our North Carolina House and Senate blue, getting state judges who care about restorative justice and dignity, having a state treasurer who understands how to financially support local communities. As members of the AAPI community, we're no longer just the margin of victory. We represent victory and the power of community. We have the ability to change the things we know aren't working the way they should. from unemployment support and state financial responsibility to the justice system. And that change starts down the ballot. So join me in flipping over your ballot and starting from the back when you vote in the election this November. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman Huynh. Our last speaker of the night is Indian American Senator Mujtaba Mohammed. Senator Mohammed will wrap up this evening with a call to action and explain how we can work together to win this important election. After the senator's talk, we will conclude with the United States national anthem. But before I let you go, I want to thank you all for being here today. When we all come together, we truly can be the margin of victory. Senator Mohammed?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mujtaba Mohammed, and I represent North Carolina's 38th Senate District in Mecklenburg County. And I'm proud to serve all of you in the North Carolina Senate. But I'm much more than that. First, I'm so honored to be your friend. Like many of you, I'm a parent, a husband, and a child of immigrant parents that came to this great country for opportunity and have contributed to its success. And I'm here to tell you that you too belong. That despite the hateful rhetoric and calls for banning people because of their faith or building walls, I'm here to tell you that you too can look differently, pray differently, love differently, or come from any corner of the world, and we will still welcome you with open arms. Because there's no such thing as going back to where you came from. There's only going forward together, because this great country, this American experience belongs to all of us. And like you and I, our friends Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are dedicated to fighting for exactly that. A North Carolina and an America that collectively represents and works for all of us. Folks, we've got less than 37 days to go. North Carolina is ground zero in this election. North Carolina is the only state in the country that has a competitive race for president, United States Senate, gubernatorial race, and highly competitive races to flip the North Carolina House and the North Carolina Senate. It's all hands on deck. Yes, we must do everything to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as our next president and vice president. However, we must also flip the United States Senate by electing Cal Cunningham. Re-elect a governor that continues to put our well-being, health, and safety before politics by keeping Governor Cooper for another 4 years. And finally, after a decade, we must take the majority in the North Carolina House and Senate. And yes, we must build back better by electing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. You've seen what this president has done for almost 4 years. And I don't need to tell you what he and his friends will do with another 4 years. Like Joe says, we truly are in a battle for the soul of this nation, and we need Joe now more than ever. We need steady leadership, leaders that care deeply about all our families, a president and a vice president that will help heal our country and move it forward after all the hateful and divisive rhetoric we've been hearing. And in Joe Biden, a president that will be a public servant with a proven track record from Scranton to Wilmington, dedicated to serving all people. However, Joe and Kamala can't do this alone. The candidates up and down our ballot can't bring the healing, the progress, and the change that our country and state so desperately need. They can't do it alone. That's why we need you. Keep in mind, the powers that be, they don't want us to get engaged. They don't want us to vote, much less roll up our sleeves and get to work even harder than we have before as we approach November 3rd. They want to make decisions about our lives without us. They want to put wealthy special interests before us. They want you to believe our voice doesn't matter, and they want you to believe that we as individuals cannot impact change. However, I'm here to tell you that they are wrong, and you know this, because as I continue to have conversations with you and North Carolinians alike, we understand, along with our candidates on the ballots, there is a lot at stake in this election. Economic justice for all our families is on the ballot. Access to affordable, quality health care is on the ballot. Real justice reform is on the ballot. Restoring public education as a beacon of hope for every single child is on the ballot. Faith and integrity in our democracy for generations to come is on the ballot. And you showed us in 2018 how fired up you were. And I'm here to tell you that the momentum continues to be on our side in 2020. My friends, we are just days away from Election Day. And as we continue to tackle this pandemic, each one of us must make a plan to vote and get out the vote safely. First, take a second to check out iwillvote.com, where you can confirm your polling place, ensure you're registered, and ultimately make a plan that best suits you and your family for voting this year. Second, check on your friends and family to make sure that they too are registered to vote. Third, take an hour or two to phone bank or send text message to encourage voters to turn out. In fact, the Biden campaign has even launched Joe App to make organizing in our community even easier. There are literally no excuses. Fourth, with all the dark money pouring into our state, drowning out our voices, make sure you financially contribute to like-minded candidates, if possible, to make sure that your values prevail on Election Day. Finally, as you are having these conversations, here's a couple of important dates and pieces of information to remember. You absolutely must register to vote in order to cast a ballot. The registration deadline for North Carolina is October 9th, or you can register and vote at the same time during one-stop early voting from October 15th through October 31st. If you're planning to vote by absentee ballot, make sure you make your request at the North Carolina Board of Elections website immediately and return your completed ballot to your county board of elections as soon as possible, or an early voting site in the county in which you are registered to vote. Again, I want to thank you all for being here tonight and for having me as your guest. It is an honor to serve you in the North Carolina Senate, made even more special by being one of the only two legislators in the Senate to represent North Carolina's Asian American community. We are counting on you. Because of you and the many more that continue to be deeply committed to the future of our state and country. Because of your commitment to justice, equality, and our state and country's well-being, that you'll continue to work even harder than you have before these next 37 days. We have a lot of work to do, but I know that the resolve and hard work of fellow Asian American and Pacific Islanders and all North Carolinians across our great state will be among the many reasons why Democrats up and down the ballot are victorious on Election Day. Take care of each other, stay safe, and have a great night. Thank you.
Please welcome my husband, Joe Biden.
Former Vice President Joe Biden just released that announcement.
Joe Biden is now a 2020 presidential candidate.
Biden will enter this race as the frontrunner.
I know Joe. We know Joe. But most importantly, Joe knows us.
Candidates coalescing around Joe Biden.
His campaign made history.
Joe Biden has selected Kamala Harris as his running mate.
This is your campaign.
Now's the time to fight for what we believe in.
The 2020 presidential election is less than 2 months away.
The presidential race is tight.
This election is in no way predetermined, and it's going to be close.
Yeah. We have got to vote like our lives depend on it.